my latest video. Movie review time. The Thursday Murder Club. Adapted from a novel by Richard Osman, directed by Chris Columbus and starring Helen Mirren, Pierce Brosnan, Celia Imrie, Ben Kingsley, David Tennant, Richard E. Grant. What's it like? Is it any good? Should you spend your money? Stick around and you'll find out. Now, I said to a friend of mine, what's the worst film you've ever seen? And they mentioned a film which I'm not going to repeat to you. And I said, no, no. Until you've seen The Thursday Murder Club, you haven't seen the worst film you've ever seen. So if you want to see the worst film you've ever seen, I suggest you watch The Thursday Murder Club. And he said, well, why would I want to watch the worst film I've ever seen? Because I said, until you do, anyway. Now, that's kind of the review before I've even started. So let me start by saying the thing about the movies, the thing about cinema is, and you know this, of course you know this, you have to suspend your disbelief. In other words, you're watching a two-dimensional set of images on the screen. You know that it's not real. You know that they're actors. You know there's a script. You know there's a lighting cameraman. You know that the sets have been built or something. You know there's vast millions spent on CGI and so on and so forth. You know all that, okay? But for the period that the film is on, you suspend your disbelief so that you can enjoy something that you think actually is real. And the best films, and you can pick whatever one you want for the best films. Let's say Godfather Part 2. Let's say, I don't know, Goodfellas. Let's even say E.T. Let's even say, why not Titanic? You can suspend your disbelief to long enough to think these are real people and it's a real thing that's actually happening. But the worst films, the bad films, you can't do that. You watch it and you know these people are going through the motions. They are creating an artificial world, and you're watching it and you know it's artificial. You know they're acting. You know it's not real. You know that the story is not believable. And once that happens, the whole edifice of enjoyment comes crumbling down. Okay, so let's see if we can pursue this metaphor. All right, you're in Pompeii, and it's Pompeii during Roman times, I think it was. Okay, and you're sitting in the amphitheatre and you're watching, this giant sky glass screen, and you're watching something, and then there's an earthquake. All right, because apparently there was an earthquake in it wasn't an earthquake, was it? It was a volcano. They said the volcano erupted. Anyway, the whole edifice, this amphitheatre, this thing that you're watching just crumbles. And that's what happens with the Thursday Murder Club. And there are films that are really bad, and they are so bad that they're good. Okay, there is an enjoyment to watching them. There is a kind of horrified enjoyment in watching something so dreadful that it actually made it to the screen and you can enjoy it. But there are some films which are so bad they're not good. They're just bad. And the Thursday Murder Club is right at the very top. It is a BAFTA-winning, Emmy-winning, multiple Oscar-winning disaster of a film. Now you're going to say, come on, Julian, is it really that bad, and why? All right, first of all, let's tell you the story. There are these old people, and they live in a retirement home, big kind of posh Downton Abbey type castle thing, and it's a retirement home. So they have apartments, but they kind of share a kind of restaurant, if you like. And there is a group of them, led by Helen Mirren, who forms this thing called the Thursday Murder Club, and they meet presumably on a Thursday to investigate cold cases. And the other members of this Thursday Murder Club are Ben Kingsley and Pierce Brosnan, and they are joined by Celia Imrie, who moves into the retirement home because her daughter wants her to live in a retirement home. So the film opens with the three of them, not Celia Imrie, she joins slightly later, and they're investigating this cold case of a girl who is stabbed and falls out of a window. The boyfriend is suspected, he says it's an intruder and so forth. So this is a cold case that they're investigating. But they very quickly get sidetracked from this cold case because where they are living, this retirement Downton Abbey complex type place, is owned by a character called Dave, or by the character played by David Tennant, who's a kind of Range Rover, Lamborghini driving wide boy wanker. Okay, and he wants to sell off the land and build luxury apartments. And there's a cemetery there, and he wants to dig up the cemetery and move it, and all the people have to move out. Okay, so that's the kind of the basic premise. And the film then intertwines the story of the cold case, which they kind of forget about until the very end of the film, with the attempts to prevent David Tennant fulfilling his plan and investigating the murder of David Tennant's business partner, who's called Tony Curran, and then the death of David Tennant himself, who is murdered in mysterious circumstances. Okay, so that's the kind of basis of the plot. And what you have Helen Mirren, right? Helen Mirren, who used to be an actress, and she's okay in this. Ben Kingsley, Ben, oh dear. Ben Kingsley plays a sort of camp, confirmed bachelor character called Ibrahim, and you can see the waves of sadness that wash over Ben Kingsley's face as he looks back on his glory days as Gandhi and his tour de force Oscar-winning should-have-been performance in Sexy Beast, and the misery that hangs over him as he thinks of this. And then Pierce Brosnan, what? Pierce Brosnan was once James Bond. Now the thing about playing James Bond is you don't have to act, all right? And this is cruelly exposed when you put somebody like Pierce Brosnan into a film where he's expected to act. Now he's got this kind of silver swept back hair and this kind of silver swept back beard. He looks a bit like Kenny Rogers. Do you remember Ruby, Don't Take Your Love to Town? He wears kind of double denim. So he's kind of like a retired member of Status Quo. Only all the retired members of Status Quo are actually retired. And then Celia Imrie, who joins a little bit later, as I say. And Celia Imrie, I mean, she was a fine actress once, but now she's reduced to explaining what WTF means to Helen Mirren's character and making cakes. So these are the four key characters. David Tennant, as I say, who obviously regrets leaving Doctor Who to end up in this farrago of nonsense. And then Richard E. Grant, who plays a sort of Mr. Big crime, Mr. Big, who's also a florist. I mean, go figure. And when he is discovered by Helen Mirren, working in, of all places, a florist. I mean, he sits there with these big fingers and he's cutting the ends off roses, so all his hands are covered in blood. And you think, well, if he's a florist and if he's been doing it for that long, I'm sure, why can't he cut the thorns off a rose without cutting himself? Anyway. And then there is that amazing, there is an actor. Yes, an actor, Jonathan Pryce. Oh, Jonathan Pryce, what has happened to you, my boy? Used to be such a great actor, and actually he does a good job in this. He acts somebody who's got dementia, although at the end of the film, whereas when it's quite useful for his dementia to sort of go as opposed to come, then he doesn't have dementia, but then his dementia comes back because it helps the plot. Do you see what I mean? And there is, amazingly, there's a black actor or black actress who plays, yes, a police constable. And the police constable is persuaded rather easily, I thought, by Helen Mirren to act as their kind of inside person on the police so they can work to solve the crime. Now, I know the Fuzz are generally an inept organisation. I mean, I think we can be fairly clear about that. There's been so much Fuzz scandals over the years. But are they really so inept as they're presented in this film? I wonder. So, you're thinking, all right, okay, so it's a kind of reasonably decent Sunday evening crime program, perhaps an hour, perhaps two. Put it up against Midsummer Murders, maybe put it up against Poirot on ITV3, something like that. No, they've got to turn it into this Netflix, this grand Netflix production directed by Chris Columbus, who directed some of the Harry Potter films and also did some other film whose name I can't remember. And it's blown up out of all proportion and given far more weight that it's actually capable of carrying. I mean, it makes, I kid you not, it makes Midsummer Murders look like Macbeth. Now, I love Midsummer Murders. I know it's absolute tripe, but I enjoy watching it on a Sunday evening. The Thursday Murder Club, I thought, really? After 5 minutes, literally 5 minutes, I was going to turn it off. And the only reason I carried on watching is because I'm paid to do these reviews. You know, people say to me, Julian, review films. We like watching your reviews. And I think, really? Do I have to sit through the Thursday Murder Club? Now, I bow to no one in my de-admiration for Richard Osman. I mean, okay, that man is an absolute genius. I mean, what he did on Pointless, you know, looking at the laptop and reading out from the laptop. I mean, that was art of the highest water. And House of Games, I mean, he sits in an armchair and he reads out questions on House of Games. I learnt, actually, that he was a producer on Deal or No Deal. Can you imagine that? You know, Noel Edmonds' greatest achievement, you could say, was to hire Richard Osman, although I think it was the other way around. Richard Osmond, not Osmond. Richard Osman. So, I mean, now I'm gonna tell you something, all right, in secret. So please don't share this. I have not read the Thursday Murder Club. I have not read any of Richard Osman's 47 Thursday Murder Club follow-ups either. I bow to no one in my admiration for him. But from what I've seen, and a few people have read it and have said to me, Julian, don't read it. Please save yourself. He is the Dan Brown of the crime story. He is the Jeffrey Archer of the suspense story. Although I've never read any Jeffrey Archer, I am told that his stories are very suspenseful. He's not the world's greatest writer any more than J.K. Rowling is the world's greatest writer, but they do know how to tell a story. I haven't read the Thursday Murder Club, and one of the reasons why I haven't read the Thursday Murder Club is as an old person myself. I mean, I'm 69. I detest, absolutely detest, the idea that old people are somehow interesting. They somehow have a story to tell. They have a history. You know, there is wisdom. There isn't wisdom there. Believe me, most old people are dumb as shit. Okay, believe me. They started off dumb. They were dumb in their 20s. They were dumb when they got to 40. They don't suddenly become interesting and brilliant and exciting when they're 60 or 70. They don't. They're just old people. Believe me, I should know. I'm one of them, right? I wasn't a sparkling wit when I was 20. I'm not a sparkling wit now that I'm 69. And if you're looking forward to old age, thinking you're going to turn into some kind of genius or some kind of great artist or whatever, forget it, mate. It ain't going to happen. All right? Learn it from somebody who's been there and never got the T-shirt. So, what's it like? It's shite. It's absolute shite. It is dreadful. It is awful. It is boring. Boring beyond belief. There is no wit there. There is no excitement there. There is no suspense there. There is nothing interesting there. There isn't even any beautiful scenery. They're living in this fucking Downton Abbey type stately home. And there's nothing interesting about it at all. The script is wooden. The acting... Oh, Ben Kingsley, oh dear, to see your career just trickle down into the swamp. Oh, I feel so sorry for you. And David, and I tell you who else is in it. Tom Ellis. Do you remember Tom Ellis? He played Miranda's love interest. And he plays Pierce Brosnan's son, okay? And he used to be a middleweight boxer. I mean, he spent a little bit of time in the gym, but he didn't look any more like a middleweight boxer than I do. But he talks in this kind of gall blimey EastEnders accent. I mean, I can put on a gall blimey EastEnders accent that's even better than Tom Ellis, but I don't think I couldn't pass for a middleweight boxer in a month of fucking Sundays, right? It's dreadful. Okay, but you're going to say, yeah, but it's number one on Netflix. Well, what's the competition? What's the competition? It's number one in the cinema. What's the competition in the cinema? Plus, I don't understand why Richard Osman is so fated. I don't understand why the Thursday Murder Club has been so successful. You might say, well, Julian, well, why don't you read it? You could find it. I'm not going to. There are not many years left for Julian on this sad earth, and I am not going to waste those few remaining fluttering days of nights by reading the Thursday Murder Club. And if I am ever forced to sit through another Thursday Murder Club film again, I will be the victim. I will be the dead body in the parlour. I will be the stiff laid out on the carpet in the library or whatever it is, beaten to death by a copy of Richard Osman's The Thursday Murder Club. Ignore watching at your peril and enjoy the worst film ever made.